Three friends boarded Disney's Galactic Starcruiser to seek their destiny and emerged as heroes of the Halcyon.
Great suns, everyone, and welcome to Heroes of the Halcyon, the best and, to our knowledge, only Galactic Starcruiser Superfans podcast on the interwebs. I am Starcruiser Superfan Martin, and with me, as always, are...
Superfan Christine.
And Superfan Drew.
Well, we have an excellent show for everyone today, and Drew, can you tell us all about it?
I can, Martin. Tonight we're excited to have with us Holly Frey. She is one of the hosts of the Stuff You Missed in History Class podcast, as well as Criminalia, and the Full of Sith podcast that she does with Brian Young and various other hosts. We met Holly on Twitter when we were first beginning to discuss Galactic Starcruiser, and Martin and Christine, I believe you guys met her in person when you went to Star Wars Celebration, is that right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
What was that like? Did you just go up to the art table? How was it that you guys met?
It was fantastic. Yeah, we had walked up to the table. We happened to be in costume that day. And as soon as we approached the table, and I just said, hi. And she said, hi, and then went, oh, hi.
So she recognized you from Twitter?
Which awesome. Is fantastic. And yeah, I got to have a few minutes with her. She was helping her friend man her art table, whose art was out of this world. Literally, Star Wars, get it? But yeah, got an opportunity to talk to her for a bit, and it was great.
We got to talk to her all about her voyages on the Starcruiser, so we're going to cover that. And at the end of the episode, we're going to announce the first winner of our Galactic Starcruiser license frame contest, and we have another special surprise. So why don't we let Holly take it away?
Well, Holly, to get our listeners kind of introduced to you and, your experience with Star Wars, what was your first introduction to Star Wars?
So I am old enough that I was there from the very beginning, and I am lucky enough that Star Wars came out on my 6th birthday. My parents made my older brother take me. He didn't want any part of that. But we went. And so, I got to see it from the beginning, when nobody knew what Star Wars was. And it was one of those things where, the second, like every kid that saw it in the theater for the first time, the second the Tantive 4 comes over, like it's over for me. I'm gone. I'm in another place. My brother doesn't exist. Everything's happening. I'm the happiest little clam in the world. So yeah, from the beginning. And I have never stopped loving it since.
Awesome.
That is very cool. Do you remember do you remember watching Empire and Jedi and the other ones?
Yes, I remember Empire so distinctly because it came out as my childhood best friend I was moving away. And so my childhood best friend's mom took us to Empire as like our last thing we did together. And her mom got motion sick during the snowspeeder scene. Like that just made her. And so I remember her leaning over and going, I'm going to barf. And I have a very strong sense memory of that entire thing. And then my dad took me and one of my friends and dropped us off to see Jedi. I have fond memories of all of them.
Well, now we're kind of spoiled these days with Star Wars in every media possible. What's currently your favorite Star Wars medium for storytelling?
This is hard because we are in a magical time when we are getting a lot of good television. Did we ever? I remember us thinking there was always the gossip of like a live action TV show's coming and we'd be like, ooh, will that even work? And now I just want to travel back in time and point at that version of me and laugh and laugh and laugh and go, you ding dong. Yes, it works. I love all of the television shows. I really, truly do. But there is something so special about seeing a Star Wars movie in a theater on a giant screen. So I think I probably am. In my soul, I'm like a movies person.
Yeah, completely excited that we have the options available. But,
so lucky.
But yeah, to kind of be overcome by the screen is huge.
Yeah,
awesome.
And one of the things that I'm really excited about before we get to Christine's question is one of those mediums that we're hearing the story is in immersive theater now, which is just absolutely amazing.
Oh, that might be my new favorite. We'll be talking about that a lot more momentarily.
Sure.
If you told 6-year-old Holly that Galactic Starcruiser was going to exist in your lifetime, you wouldn't believe it. That's so...
I was just telling someone on Twitter the other day that Starcruiser feels like all of 6-year-old Holly's dreams came true. Like that's the manifestation of that. What do you mean I get to hang out with a Rodian and she's going to be my friend? What a dream. That's awesome. The best.
That's great.
The best.
So switching gears slightly, and knowing your passion for history is evidenced in your wildly popular podcast that we all love, Stuff You Missed in History Class. What's your favorite historical era of Star Wars?
This is very hard. And I was pondering this beforehand a little bit because you were kind enough to send me this question ahead. I don't, it might have to span, because here's the thing, right? Like everybody that grew up with the original trilogy, like I love all of that stuff, but I also really love the prequels. In terms of like being in that galaxy, like what an astonishing time in terms of art and design. And before the Empire kind of ruined everything, in terms of, I mean, they have great style, but let's face it, they don't really want like expressive arts. They just want really architectural art, which is great. We can't be all of it. It's right there in that cusp, right? Maybe I'll say Clone Wars, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. There's a lot of turmoil, the kinds of things that I would talk about if I were a history podcaster in the Star Wars universe. I'd be talking a lot about events that took place during the Clone Wars, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, just on the subject of eras, watching Kenobi recently and just seeing Alderaan in detail for the first time and just getting the heart, clenching, because we know that in 10 years, everything you see is gone.
Oh. Well, we get to see the core of the planet, and they didn't get to. So there's
right?
that.
There's that.
Yeah, all of that beautiful art and architecture, all of those vineyards, gone.
Well, on the same token, if your podcast Criminalia followed a crime in the Star Wars universe, which crime would they follow or investigate?
The murder of Greedo. Come on.
Wow, that was quick. You had to answer right away. Nice.
He vanished. No one knows what happened to him. There's no evidence. I'm here to uncover it. Greedo was murdered. I do think, right, if you were someone that knew Greedo, that was his family or whatnot, wouldn't you be like, what happened to where did our boy go? He just vanishes. I'm sure no one gave a ring-a-roo and we're like, hey, by the way, your kid is deceased because he made some bad choices.
Right.
Nobody talked to anyone in his family about his poor life decisions, and it's the murder of Greedo. But like, if we didn't know that, that's what I would be like.
Nice. I love it.
Listen up, kids. Don't be like Greedo.
With a close second being, of course, the murder of Anaconda Farr. So
it's good that you're diverse in that taste. That's good. That's good.
Well, we're going to actually remove Greedo from contention for this next question.
And Ouanni, unfortunately.
And Ouanni. We got, oh God, that'd be a good answer
tough
for this one. Holly, do you have a favorite costume from any Star Wars media, movie, TV, comic book?
I do. This is an easy answer, but I have to give you two. Because as a kid, it was Leia's Bespin gown. Without a doubt, no question in my mind. When I was older and the prequels came out, it's Amidala's pre-Senate gown. Have made both of those costumes, love those costumes desperately. They're both so beautiful. Although, have you seen, they haven't toured it here in the US in a while, but they were touring it in Europe when they still had the Bespin Leia dress as part of the Smithsonian touring exhibit. Did you ever get to see it in person?
We did. No, we did. We did the Smithsonian in San Diego.
That's right.
It was there.
Did you notice the grease stain on it?
Oh, wow. No. That's some pepperoni pizza on set or something.
There is like a grease stain on the front of it or something. I mean, it could have just been like in the handling as it passed, it through from the costume department to museums, et cetera, et cetera. But there is kind of a funky little right there on the front.
Schmutz. You got a little schmutz there, Leia. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like somebody dropped something on this dress.
So we've talked a little bit about Greedo and about Ouanni. So I know. So why Rodians?
Okay, here's the thing. When I saw it when I was a kid, my entire excitement leading into Star Wars as a tiny child was that we were going to see aliens. And we were going to see aliens interacting with humans, which we didn't really get at that point in time that I could recall in the 70s, right? Like we would see aliens and things, but they were always like this weird thing that was distant and difficult to understand. And in this case, they were just casually chatting with people, and I was so excited. And the whole lead up to that, we get a little, with Jawas and whatnot, but it's really when Greedo and Han start talking, I was like, it's here, it's happening. an alien and a human are talking, they're talking different languages, but they still understand each other. This is what I'm here for. And then he was dead.
They killed him.
So I was like, wait, this is the good part. What happened? And so while we did get some more of that, I fixated on it and I was obsessed with it as a kid that I wanted more Greedo. And I also just, from a design standpoint, I love Rodians. Like, I love the way they're kind of amphibian looking. I love the little bumps on their faces. I love, if you've ever been to any of Tom Spina and Pablo Hidalgo's Cantina Archaeology panels, like where they talk about how that was like a smooth head that was part of, like an alien that was part of a commercial for peas, I think, for frozen peas. And it got all of these addendums to get that wonderful ridge and all of the bumps. And I just love all of that lore around it. And I love the design. And they're so cute with their little snoots and their giant, big, beautiful eyes.
It's the eyes for me, absolutely.
I just love a Rodian. I want them to be my space best friends.
Well, and especially now with all the baby Rodian and the baby,
I've long had a theory that there's someone in merchandising at Disney who's like, who hasn't spent money this week? It's Holly Frey. What can we whip out real quick that'll just, a Rodian anything. Just make a baby. She don't like babies, but she'll like a Rodian baby for sure. And they're right. I bought 3 of those things.
That's great.
So which one did you not buy? I'm dying to know.
No, I bought 3 of the Rodian ones. Because
that's great.
One, to keep green. I'm terrified to do it, but I'm going to. I want to airbrush one to look like the rose gold Rodians that we've seen as of late. So like Chisido in Solo and then the one that never got a name in Book of Boba Fett, that poor little sweet potato that died in the desert. I would love to do like an airbrush and make one look like that. And then one is a safety in case I mess that one up.
Right.
You got to have your safety Rodian. That's very important.
But I did also get an Ewok and a Jawa because I have problems with consumerism.
Well, we know people just like that, so you're in a safe place here.
I would say you got a solution to consumerism.
Right.
So when was your first voyage on Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser, Holly?
It was at the end of March. We got in on reservations with that hours-long AP hold line like everyone else. Although we, for some reason, got lucky and we got in before a lot of people in terms of that line. Like, I remember you guys were probably seeing it too. People on Twitter and on other social media being like, I'm still on hold. It's 6 hours in. I'm still on hold. And we actually had 2 phones going at once. Like, my husband was dialed in on his phone. I was dialed in on mine. And then we ended up, I haven't really shared this publicly, but we actually went twice pretty rapidly because we both got in and both booked.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So one of us booked one at the end of March and one of us booked at the end of April. And that was how that happened, which is something we had kind of been planning. The very first announcement came way back in 2017 that like this is a thing that's happening at D23. And I was like, Brian, I am setting up a little side fund and we're just going to siphon money into it because I want to go once a quarter for the first year. And I had a guesstimate as to what I thought it was going to cost, which was not quite accurate, but I wasn't that far off. And so we actually ended up in pretty good shape where we could just go, okay. And so booking those 2 back to back, we were like, let's just keep it. It's technically that's Q1 and Q2. So we're fine.
You're right on your goals being achieved. This is good. And if I remember my Twitter, you've succeeded for this quarter as well.
Yes. I literally just got off of my 3rd, for which I took my best friend, which was a really, really fun way to mix it up and see it all new for the first time. That might have been the most magical of them, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had been a little fretful because we had an almost identical cast for the first 2. The only change out was Sammy, I think.
Okay.
And I was very attached to those actors in those roles. And I was, we got the email ahead of time that's like introducing your characters. And I was like, these are all different actors. And I was a little nervous. It made it amazing. It actually made it completely new. Things changed that I didn't expect to change. Like the way story beats play out were different with different characters. I was like, this is not what happened when I told the previous person the same thing on this particular track. And that made it really, really fun because I kind of felt like I was a little upended again. There were even some things that didn't happen in this last one that had happened in the previous two. And I don't know if that was on purpose or if something went wrong or what, but I was like, it all kept me just on my toes enough that it still felt very new and exciting. Seeing it through my best friend's eyes made it very new and exciting. And you're familiar enough that you start to notice other things that are going on around you, which was like a whole other layer. It was so magical.
Well, using the multi, voyage experience, that you have, what are the top 3 things you learned on your first voyage or second voyage that you then were able to kind of apply to planning and going through your subsequent voyages?
I think the big thing that I always tell people when they have asked me, like, oh, what do you suggest, is to be open to everything. I think we all have a tendency to go, I want to be on this track, or I want to be on this track, or I want to, but often, like, there are great surprises that pop up if you're not so focused on just one thing. Like, we had a thing happen to us with a character from a completely different track that was just like literally came in the lounge when we were there, and we had talked to them earlier in the voyage, hadn't really had any other interaction, but they came in the lounge and they were like, come with me, and we got to do a really cool thing I had never seen happen before. So there, and if I was super focused and been like, oh no, we're drinking because we're not really doing your thing, I would have missed that. And so I just think, like, you have to stay open to everything. What are the other 2? That's actually really tricky. I would say, here is my thing, and this may just be for me. And I think most people are doing this. If you're a costumey person, you really want to plan out ahead of time how to do costume changes in like 15 minutes or less. Because you don't want to miss any action because you're curling your hair or like fussing with something on your garment. Like, that's not fun, and you can miss things. The other thing that I think really just occurred to me this time around is to, in your downtime, if you just hang in the atrium, something will happen to you. Like, if you're just having a dead moment and you're like, I don't really have any messages, if you just go sit, someone is going to sidle up next to you and want to have a conversation that can take you all kinds of places, which is super fun.
So you talked a little bit about being on this new voyage with new crew and how it kind of made things different. Did you have any concerns, or did you have any feelings while you were there that because you knew the basic beats of the story, that it would make it less enjoyable?
I mean, I had been worried that might happen, but it really didn't. Like I said, they changed it up enough. Even doing, I kind of did similar tracks my second and third voyages, and they were still different enough that I was like, oh, and I pretty quickly realized, like, I can't bring any of my baggage or ideas about what this is into this because it's going to be different. And I'm not honoring this moment if I'm too focused on that moment and trying to like figure out, now he's going to do. No, I think if you're doing that, you're not really having the experience anymore. You're doing some sort of database management in the back of your head. And that's not really why you go on a trip like that.
Right.
I do enough database management in my day job. I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Get away from it immediately.
So the next question, what is your favorite part of the ship and why is it the Sublight Lounge?
Listen, I am an intergalactic barfly in my heart. I am a drinker. I love to drink. I love bars. Like, I am a barfly. Like, if I'm at the airport, I'm in the bar because I love watching all the people. That's where all the weird things are going down and like strange stuff. And the cantina was always my favorite part of Star Wars anyway. This is what I so appreciate about Star Wars storytellers. Every story has a bar. But like, the thing that made the cantina so appealing to me as a kid and continues to be really fun is that in the cantina or a lounge in Star Wars, everyone's a weirdo, so no one's a weirdo, which means anything goes. And it's just a very fun place to hang out, right? Like, I love in Sublight, when you're on the Halcyon, the way you see families come and go and interact with each other, watching people play sabacc together at the little hollow table, all of that is very interesting. Characters come in and out all the time. Our second voyage, Croy came and sat with us in Sublight Lounge, and he and I had a very, very serious discussion about whether his role in life is fulfilling for him, and is this really the right career path for you? You never, and it's great to just sit there with a cocktail and do that. Also, if you're in there enough, they'll start making you custom cocktails, and they're delicious.
So I have two questions related to that. What's your current favorite cocktail? Not the custom ones, but what's your favorite ones that are on the menu for all us we know everybody at the bar?
I really, really love the Silver Sea Martini, which I did not anticipate because I'm a vodka girl in my heart, but I have come to make friends with gin in recent years. But I wouldn't have expected a gin martini to be my jam, and it is. I also really like the Cloud of Bespin, and I am very fond of the Dagobah Vimlet. That's a yummy one. A little, kick a pepper in there is super yummy. And I get a lot of fiery Mustafarians, although I always claim I don't like that drink, but I sure have had a lot of them, so I must like it a little bit.
You named every single one of the ones that I'm super excited to have again when I go. So on your last voyage, one of the drinks you posted was kind of a custom drink, or I don't know if it's coming soon, and I don't remember the name of it. If I was a better podcaster, I'd have my research done. But what did you think of that one?
There was one that I posted that is called the Gem of Ryloth.
That was it.
It is a watermelon and lime like spritzer. It's a non-alcoholic drink as they have it listed on the menu. It has like a very blue foam on top that's very similar to like the vanilla foam that's on top of the Hoth Icebreaker. So it's just a very light, bright drink. If you get them to I'm about to reveal just the level of barflyness. So the two vodkas that they have on the Starcruiser are Tito's, which I am not a huge fan of, and the Kettle One Botanicals with cucumber. If you put that cucumber vodka in the Gem of Ryloth, it's absolutely delicious and a very refreshing drink. So highly recommend.
You get a little watermelon, a little cucumber, a little vanilla. What's
little
not to
lime.
like?
Well,
a little lime.
Did you see that new drink that we saw a picture of this week? The 4-person extravaganza.
Yeah, they were not rolling that out when I was there, which is probably good because I'd have all 4 straws. But listen, I know who I am. But I hadn't seen that. That literally, I think, was the voyage after us that popped out. So,
oh no, just right after.
Well, now I'll have to go back.
Exactly,
no.
Precisely. That's awesome.
Something I always like to ask is, Christine and I live in a pop culture museum. What is your favorite piece of merch off of Starcruiser?
I'm trying to think of everything I have purchased, which is a substantial amount of stuff, because I lose my mind and it's a very shut up and take my money situation. I did not see it this last time, but I really love, they had those gray, super cute jackets early on with the CSL logo, which I love. I have a lot of the cocktail wear, right? Like I have a lot of the barware. You probably know because you have been, but in case anybody doesn't and they're going into it in the future, those beautiful globe goblets that they have that we see Kira drink out of, for example, during Solo, they have them in the gift shop, but they also have them in the lounge. They come with the Dagobah Vimlet. And the one that you get with the Vimlet is a much heavier and nicer piece than the one you can get in the gift shop. It's also a little bit larger. It's got about 2 more ounces of volume in it. Just a little heads up from me to you. That's a big one. I really love that glass. I also love, and I didn't see it this time around, they did a little cute black tunic in like a rayon knit for women that has like a really beautiful V-neck cut to it. And I love it. And it's the super softest and I wear it all the time. I'll stop there. There are more, but I'll just stop there.
Well, for our listeners, one of the things we kind of tell people is a really must do while you're on the voyage is the CSL photo experience.
Yes.
We tell folks all the time that is an absolute do it. It's worth the money. Do you have a favorite location to do CSL, or do you have a specific favorite photo you can describe?
Listen, no one's going to be surprised when I say I love getting pictures done in the Sublight Lounge. But this last time, we actually got an extra shuttle ride because we went back down to the port and got pictures there at the port where you check in. And that was just sort of fun because you get private shuttle time.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice.
Excellent. Wow.
With that beautiful light up logo behind you.
Yes.
And it makes for really, really striking photographs.
Wow, that I hadn't considered.
That was
I didn't even
amazing.
know that was available. So
I didn't either. And I don't know if I should blab it because they were like, get in the shuttle really quick.
go.
Well, our CSL photo experience consisted of a random corridor, the storage area, and the climate simulator, and then we're seeing all these other people's amazing CSLs and the Sublight Lounge, the bridge, everywhere else. We got a corridor.
Yeah, we didn't know. We didn't know what to ask for, and I'll treasure those pictures of the cargo hold.
Hey, they're still amazing.
My first batch is very cargo hold and corridor heavy, but they're still beautiful. But now I have wised up, and I know I can say I really want pictures in the bar, and they're like, okay, great.
So now that you've been more than once and you have a good grasp on the story, the characters, how it all fits together, what would you change?
There are only a couple of things I would change. Here is the one thing that I find myself going, there are a couple of choke points, right? Where when you're having like person-to-person interactions with characters and they're kind of grabbing you by the hand and taking you somewhere, those all feel amazing. So then when you get like a message in your app to meet at a specific point and then it quickly turns into a line of people waiting to talk to that character, or like 40 people clumped around Chewie trying to do a thing, it feels a little less special in that moment.
Yep.
And I don't know how, I don't have any good solutions for how to manage that. But I think even if they basically like diversified it a little bit, where it's like, if they staggered times of like, even by 5 or 10 minutes, I think you could probably disperse some of your crowd there where like you're meeting whoever it is, Sammy, Gaia, Wraith, whatever, at 6:15. And then the next group is actually like 6:22 or something.
Right.
As simple as that, I think could change the game.
Interesting. I've never actually thought of, they could have 2 Chewbacca's on the ship in completely different locations where there's no chance of them. I never even considered that.
Yeah, that's true.
You could have 2 versions of the non-face characters.
Yeah, anything to break up the crowd to make it feel more immersive, as opposed to lining up for your photo with Mickey.
Right. It is. I need my instructions.
Yeah.
And I thought this was cool and it was between us, but apparently it's between us and 30 other people. So you're the blabbermouth. That's what you're telling me. Is how it feels. But other than that, it's so spectacularly done. And I think for the most part, it's very well load balanced. It's just, those are kind of unavoidable. And I will say this, I felt like this third time through, they have done some stuff to mitigate those kinds of things. It's not completely solved. And of course, that's also going to depend. You can't like do predictive modeling on your entire cruiser worth of guests' behavior. For all you know, this cruise, like half of them go first order, and then suddenly that's going to be a choke point no matter what you do. But I did feel like there was more load balancing, so it wasn't quite as bad as I had seen it my first trip or the second. So hopefully they're figuring out ways to shift that around a little bit. I will say this last time through, without being spoilery, the Wraith Cole was really good at kind of like, I honestly believe everyone walked off of that ship thinking they were his special favorite.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he was really, really good at working the crowd and keeping everybody busy in different ways without it ever feeling like he was doing that, which was really impressive.
Hey, podcast fans, this is Future Drew from the editing booth. Wanted to let you know for the next 15 minutes, we're going to be talking about spoilers with Holly. So you might want to fast forward about 15 minutes to get to the end of the episode. We do talk about our license plate frame giveaway, and I have a special announcement that you might want to listen to. Back to the interview for those who aren't concerned about spoilers.
So between any of the voyages, what paths did you take?
So the first time we went, I was very resistance heavy. I'm kind of that dork that always says I'm going to be not the good guy in every game, and then I play through the good guy role every time. So I was very resistance heavy the first time, and that was very fun. And then I decided the second time I wanted to go more the scoundrel route, which I did. But then the third time I also did the scoundrel route. And I was much more, like I was way deeper into that one. There were a couple times on the second one when I first did Scoundrel where I just missed messages until it was a little too late. And there were a couple things that I missed. So I kind of got behind the curve on it. But this time I was like, I was hyper alert. You can't see me, but I'm doing a very eager Lothcat. So yeah, I stayed vigilant this time. No naps.
Did you have characters built?
Yes. And I've used the same character every time. So I have a character named Minu Yurfa. Minu is the French word for kitty.
That's great.
Love it.
That's awesome.
And Yurfa is my name backwards with an A, or my last name backwards with an A added to it.
Nice.
And my whole backstory for her is that she is a fashion designer who specializes in rare and exotic textiles. So she runs all over the galaxy, which means she can, if she wishes, smuggle things and or messages. She leans resistance, but she's also a little bit sloppy and can be bought. This actually worked out great because when we did our third one, when I did the third one with my best friend, she is also an artist. She does cards for Tops and, was one of the Celebration poster artists. And our backstory was that we met in art school on Coruscant. So it worked very, very well. And it was super fun to keep that one going. And that way I don't have to change any of my ID cards.
Nice. Maximize your Etsy dollar. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
And it's a good excuse to make all new outfits every time.
There you go. That's fabulous.
So what path did you like the best?
I love the Scoundrel path. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but I'm a little more morally flexible about not needing to do the resistance thing. I'm like, that's fine. I'm going to go over here. You got this covered. There are plenty of people who want to do good, which is not how I am in my real life. So I think that's part of the vacation of it. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun with that one. It's also, let's face it, right? You're in that track, you're kind of in the orbit of Gaia and Ouanni as well. Look, I'm no fool. I'm a rabid Ouanni super fan. So the more often I can put myself adjacent to that gorgeous creature, that I will do it, whatever it takes.
Did the cast member who was playing Ouanni, because I don't know if it's the same cast member throughout the whole voyage like it is the face characters, but did the Ouanni character know from your obvious fangirlishness that she know enough to come and seek you out?
I do not think she was the same performer that was my Ouanni the other two times. And I showed her my tattoo. And then we were BFFs, which was great. The really loveliest thing was at the very end, we were all in the atrium and it's not far from her. So it was she had to search the ship for me, but she made a point to come over and she gave me the longest, sweetest hug. And I literally just started crying like a child. And it was honestly, I was texting my husband about it later. And he was like, well, that's really the performer hugging you. She probably appreciates that you love what she's doing. And I was like, no, I'm crying again.
Absolutely.
Honestly, it's if 6-year-old me knew that was going to ever happen in my life, that it would feel for a moment like I had a Rodian best friend, her tiny mind would have just combusted. It's a lovely, beautiful thing. And because my degree is in theater, I understand that unique relationship that happens between a performer and an audience and how what you give and get works in both directions. And so that was just lovely. I hope those people realize how much all of us appreciate what they do. It's a lot of work to keep that going for 2 days straight and not break character and hit all your marks, because they are, whether we see them or not, right? They're on various cues, they're on schedules. It's a lot of work. And yet they're making magic for us every time. It's astonishing.
It is astonishing. That's a perfect word for it.
I did not anticipate how emotional the experience would be, period. And they did that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And not just when the experience is over and you have to, give your hugs and leave the ship. It's days after that you still just, even talking about it with friends, trying to explain it, I can't tell you how many people I've cried in front of, just having a conversation that you think is just going to be yeah, we had a great time and here's some things that happened and then this happened and you're just
yes.
Oh my gosh, it's overwhelming.
Well, as we were driving back to Atlanta, my best friend Dawn said something that really hit home with me about it, where she was saying, and, she's like a mom. She takes care of her son and she runs their household. And, she is always in charge of making sure everything is handled. And she was like, for 2 days, everyone else took care of me and I just got to play. My only job was to play and have fun. And like, that's such an extraordinary gift in the world we live in, which is very stressful. And we're all super busy, even if like the world were not in turmoil. Most of us are crazy busy all the time anyway, with a million responsibilities. And it is really something so special to just be like, who do I want to be for 2 days? What do I want to do? If you want, you can literally just sit in the lounge and order flatbreads and drinks the whole time. Mm-hmm. And that would also be fun in a different way. But you don't have to worry about anything. You're going to be taken care of. And that's really like, I had not thought about how much of a vacation that was, like how much that was factoring into it's almost like an emotional, like, dump, for lack of a better word. Like you're holding in all of that stuff to keep your life moving and keep everything together and everything on track. And I think it's so unique and unusual for particularly like adults to be able to be like, none of that matters right now. I'm literally goofing off.
I gotta help Sammy.
Right? It becomes so important, man. Yeah. Like, what does Gaia need? Anything. I'll do anything for her.
That coaxium is not going to deliver itself.
Well, that's right. Exactly. So have you done any other long forms of LARPing? So this is a kind of a new experience for you as well?
Yeah. And I mean, I'll tell you why I haven't, and it sounds a little snoots patoots, and that's not what I mean. But I know that because I do a lot of artwork and a lot of design work, I have never wanted to do a LARP because they're never fully immersive. It's always like, you can have all of the greatest stuff on earth, but you're still like in a park and you might see cars drive by. And I just knew that was never going to be my jam. I was going to be like, well, damn it. And so with this, no cars are driving by. Nope. You'll see shuttles.
Space cars.
Nothing else. And so that level of immersion is why I was like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. So,
well, Holly, not just in the particular paths you've taken, but also in the broader, large scope story that's taking place on Starcruiser, do you have a particular favorite story moment?
I just love Gaia's acoustic set on day 2.
Oh,
it's so fun to just watch. Like, I've seen 2 Gaias and they've both been stellar performers with amazing voices. But then when you start to realize, like, oh, there's a whole other thing happening. Mm-hmm. It becomes this layered thing, and it's almost like the Rosetta Stone of that trip, where you do realize every single thing is here for a very specific reason. Everything is happening to either focus or move your eye away from something else. And then you sort of realize, like, architecturally, what a wonder the whole thing is. And so I love it for that reason, because that was the first time we went. That was really where I was like, oh, I'm really seeing just how like the Legos all click together here, without feeling like, oh, now the magic is gone. I see it. It was more like, oh, whoa, this is layers and layers I hadn't even considered, which I really, really like. Love. Hats off.
So, with the exception of Ouanni, because we know the answer would be Ouanni.
She's the very best there is. Very best there is.
Who is
the whole galaxy.
Who is your second favorite character?
This is a very close tie.
Oh, really?
I think it has to be a tie of Gaia and Wraith. I love that Gaia is very flashy and wonderful, and I really felt very connected to the first Gaia we had, and I really fell in love with her. And then Wraith is just fun because, like, that's the character we all wanted to kind of be growing up. Well, I did anyway. I was not that child that was like, Luke. I was like, Han, let's go make trouble. Let's steal some stuff.
Yep.
Which is funny because I'm not a thief, I swear. But like that sort of more a little edgier, thrilling kind of life was more appealing to me. And so that's why I really love Wraith's entire jam.
When you did the third cruise, you said you were more a part of the Scoundrel storyline. Did Wraith draw you in for any of the missions with the stone?
Yeah. And we just, like I said, he was really, really exceptionally good. I feel almost bad for him because he's so handsome, that particular actor, that you just see people kind of losing their minds. But he's honestly, like I said, so good at making everybody feel part of the story and like his, special buddy on the story. And we had this one interaction that cracked me up after the fact. And it was so funny where it was during one of the missions where we had to go to the bridge and help get some coaxium back onto the ship. And you end up in this battle and we're firing and we're at the weapons station. And he came over and he was like, "You guys have a really high kill rate. Where did you learn to shoot like that?" And I said, "Art school." And then he was like, "This is a lot to unpack right now." And we just had this very funny time playing off of that. And art school being this strange thing where clearly I had a whole other kind of art school experience than the normal person.
It was the art of murder.
And it was just stuff like that he was very quick on responses to like a complete, and I don't know what possessed me to say that. It was just kind of a random, I'm shooting, honey, leave me alone, I'm busy. But it ended up being such a funny thing. And he said something later on that night about art school. I'd got to find out where you went or something like that. And it was just hilarious. And I had a great time. The closest I got, and I thought I was crazy in the moment, but my best friend later, unprompted, said the same thing. When we were at one point speaking with Sandro, was the closest I think I've seen to an actor, their real personality bleeding through, because he was talking to me about how much he cared for Ouanni. And I said, "Well, but do you have a tattoo?" And he goes, "No, why, do you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Wait, you have a tattoo of Ouanni?" And it's like, for a fleeting second, Sandro exited the building. And I was like, maybe he's just, and later my friend was like, "I think you broke that poor boy."
That's great. Oh, I love it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Holly. We really appreciate it. If you would, let all of our listeners know, where else can they find you?
One, thank you guys, because this has been just the delight of my week. And I'm super easy to find. You can find me, just me, on Twitter as Surliest Girl, and on Instagram as SurlyGirly5. If you want to connect with Stuff You Missed in History Class, that's at Missed in History everywhere. Full of Sith is at Full of Sith. And for Criminalia, my historical true crime podcast, you just hashtag Criminalia and we'll find it. It's easy.
So that was our interview with Holly Frey of many podcasts. I can't tell you how much fun it was to talk with her. We actually talked with her for easily 20 minutes off mic. We talked about our love for Starcruiser. We talked about our love for some of the beverages of Starcruiser, some of the personnel of Starcruiser. It was a great chat, and we were absolutely thrilled to have Holly on the show. So regular listeners to the program might remember that last week we announced our Starcruiser license frame giveaway. And Christine, I think you have some details about who won and how people can enter over the next 2 weeks.
Yes, last week we started our giveaway with our Galactic Starcruiser license plate frame that says, "My other ride is Galactic Starcruiser." Our first winner is at Zach the Maker, and new winners will be announced over the next 2 Wednesdays, so there's still 2 more chances to win. All you need to do is to go to Instagram and like the photo that we have posted of the license plate frame. And as a reminder, you can find us on Instagram at Heroes of the Halcyon. And if you'd like to find us on other social media, we're at Twitter on Halcyon_heroes, or you can always email us at heroesofthehalcyon@gmail.com.
And Drew, you said we had a special announcement. What is that?
Well, we absolutely do have a special announcement. A few people have asked us where they can find the music that we use for the intro of our podcast. That's actually a song that I put together way back in 1998. It was the time when candy was only a penny and dinosaurs roamed the earth. Well, I got to put this song together, and when we were going through and figuring out what we wanted to use for our podcast, I happened to mention to Martin and Christine, I put this song together. They listened to it and said, "Done, I got a DJ Rex vibe from this. This is what we're going to use." And since people have asked about it, and I was curious, I decided I was going to go ahead and release it on streaming services. So you can find the song. It's called Digital Discourse. I named my band Yellow Barrel because I like Jaws. It's actually my favorite movie. Don't tell the people at Star Wars, but I really do like Jaws the best. So again, the song is Digital Discourse by Yellow Barrel. It's on every streaming service you can think of. You can also find it on Apple iTunes. And for special fun, I'm going to go ahead and post the song in its entirety at the end of this episode.
Well, I'll tell you what, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Heroes of the Halcyon, because the Halcyon always needs heroes. It's been fun shooting the poodoo with all of our Starcruiser friends out there. So until next episode, it's our honor. Let's raise our glasses to Buite!